Do you feel like your boss is always looking over your shoulder, scrutinizing everything you do, and just making your job generally more difficult? In today's video, I want to talk about why is your supervisor or your boss micromanaging you, and what can you do to kind of offset some of that micromanagement. So without further ado, let's jump into the video. Okay, first let's talk about what is micromanagement. It's something that you definitely feel when it's happening to you, but from a definition standpoint, micromanagement is a management style where a leader excessively controls, monitors, and scrutinizes their team's work. Unlike hands-on management, which can be supportive and helpful, micromanagement often feels more like a lack of trust. It's a constant feeling of needing updates or nitpicking your work or just kind of hovering over your shoulder to make sure that you get your job done at the expense of feeling like you're free and being able to do the job how you want to. Not all micromanagers are created the same. Some of them are part-time micromanagers, some of them are full-time micromanagers. But let's talk about the 3 or 4 most common reasons why bosses micromanage. The first reason is a fear of failure or insecurity. Everybody comes to work as a person. And so if you think about it from an empathetic standpoint, people have insecurities, they have fear of failure. But if you have a supervisor who's approaching work with the sense that everything can be perfect and that it needs to be perfect, otherwise they'll lose their job or you'll lose your job or whatever that stress or insecurity looks like, causes people to do really weird stuff. The second reason, and this is the second largest reason why micromanagers happen, is a lack of trust in their employees or a lack of trust in general. Think about it from your micromanager's standpoint. If you don't trust other people to do the job as well as you can, you're going to try to make sure that they're able to do the job as well as you can, which means that you basically are going to be doing the job through them. So if you are an employee and you're dealing with somebody who maybe doesn't trust you, that's probably the easiest micromanager to work with, because building trust is something that can be done as opposed to working through someone's insecurity is a little bit more difficult to do. But we'll get to what to do in just a second. The third thing is you're working with a micromanager who is a perfectionist. And if you've worked with a perfectionist, you know that they wear you down so much to the point where you throw your hands up and you say, just tell me what you want me to do and I'll do it. If you got to that point, you're working with a perfectionist, and that's a tough one to work with. The fourth type of manager is someone who's getting pressure from the organization or they're getting pressure from the executives. Now, those are typically people who are otherwise a normal boss or a very relaxed and supportive supervisor. But if they're getting pressure, if you've noticed that maybe the executives are putting pressure on them or something's gone wrong and the management is saying, hey, we need to be more focused on this or whatever. If that's something that you're noticing, it could be that your supervisor is micromanaging you temporarily because of the pressure that they're getting from executives, and you're able to navigate those waters as well. So let's jump into what are the actual ways that you can better work with a micromanager. The first thing that you want to do when working with a micromanager is you want to overly communicate. You want to be proactive in your communication. No matter what is the reason for their micromanagement, it could be that they're insecure, it could be that they don't trust you, it could be pressure from above, whatever. You want to make sure that you're overly communicative. It could be something that you're communicating with them over instant messaging. It could be something that you're communicating over email or over phone or in person. But if you're giving them updates on here's what I'm doing, here's what I'm working on, that will lessen the amount of micromanagement that you have across the board. Now, it seems a little bit counterintuitive that they come to you, they oversee you, and your response is to go to them. Being able to build that bridge and go back and forth in communication equals out the balancing of the communication dynamic. So it's not just one-sided, it's kind of like a ping pong situation. So you're balancing the dynamic in that respect. The second thing that you need to do is constantly clarify expectations. If you're working with a micromanager who's a perfectionist, you need to especially give them the ability to articulate what is their expectation. A lot of times where they'll approach their employees not necessarily knowing what they want, but they know in their mind what they want. So if you can have them verbalize and take the time to sit down and figure out what is the expectation of this project, if it's something that just needs to get done, then maybe it doesn't need to be perfect. If it's something that needs to be reviewed 20 times, then we know that it needs to be reviewed 20 times. But if you can talk to them about what is the expectation of this project, what's the workflow look like, it's going to help you, especially if you're working with a perfectionist. It'll help you figure out how can I better work with this person to make sure that they're not hovering over me every second of the day. The third thing you want to do is demonstrate reliability. If you can show that you say what you're going to do and you do what you're going to say, you're going to start building trust in a really meaningful way. And this works across all groups of micromanagers. But if you're able to showcase, here are the things that I'm able to do, here's what I'm capable of working on, and I'm able to deliver whatever you tell me based on the expectations that you have, it's going to go a really long way, especially for the micromanagers who maybe don't trust you or are getting a lot of pressure from the top. And the last thing that you want to do is set boundaries politely. It could be something where you say, hey, let's schedule our project status updates at these interval times. So it could be twice a week we're going to meet, once a week we're going to meet to review this project. Here's the goals, here's where we're going. If you can set benchmarks and set clear, polite boundaries, and this doesn't, it's a little bit difficult because you kind of have to be working on your communication style. You don't want to be overly abrasive, but you don't want to be too submissive. So you kind of want to be somewhere in the middle where you just push back and you say, hey, I'm having a really hard time working on all of this stuff with you over my shoulder. Can I work on this and get back to you tomorrow? Or can I work on this and we can chat, in 2 days or whatever that looks like? But try to figure out what your cadence or what your flow is going to be with this person. But if you do that, in addition to the other things that we talked about, it'll really make a difference, I think, in the working dynamic with whatever micromanager you're working with. And if you're still feeling really overworked or you're still feeling like your micromanager won't lay off, check out this video I made about how to talk to your boss about being overworked. You might be able to take some of those and apply them to your situation as well. And with that, I will see you on the next one.